more handsome than ever. It's good to see you, and Gabby. Wow, this is so nice to see everyone. Hello, David, Jeremy. Wow, this is incredible. I'm not going to let you down. This is a really an amazing share, though I say so myself. Today's class is going to be a combination of two Gemaras that we're going to see. The opening Gemara is going to be part of our series on dreams. And then we're going to be talking about how a Jew wakes up in the morning and sharing with you some extraordinary insights that are all really right there in the Gemara for us to see. The Gemara on Daf Nun Vav Amud Beis. If you have a Gemara Brachos in front of you, that would be great. The Gemara on Nun Vav Amud Beis, at the very bottom, you have a few lines from the bottom. The Gemara brings down the words, Haroya Pil B'Chalaim. 2 lines from the bottom of Nun Vav Amud Beis. Haroya Pil B'Chalaim. A person that sees an elephant in a dream. Now, just before I begin, I just wanted to remind those of you that have not heard me speak this out till now, I just wanted to remind everyone, the main idea that I'm going to be saying at the end, which really is mind-blowing, is from Meir Rebbe, Reb Moshe Shapiro, Tzaddik Zechron Livracha. I want to say this right up front, that when people ask me, what made Reb Moshe different? How come that so many Talmidei Chachamim will say to you the following words, where everyone else ends, that's where Reb Moshe Shapiro gets going. I've heard this literally from Talmidei Chachamim all over the world. They hear the ability to notice things in Chazals that were just beyond the realm of other people to notice. But once he says it out, it kind of seems obvious. And that was his tremendous Koyach HaChidush that came from his Amelus and his Kedusha and his dedication to his Talmidim. If you want a perfect example of what made Reb Moshe into who he was and how come so many of your teachers are his Talmidim, so you don't have to go further than today's class, specifically the last few minutes when I tie everything in. Let's go back to the Gemara. Haroya Pil B'Chalaim. If you see an elephant in a dream, Plois Nasaloi, wonders will happen to you. Pilim, if you see many elephants, Pile Plois, wonders of wonders. The simple meaning of wonders, the way the Sifsei Chachamim translates it, means an abundance of wonders, all kinds of wonders. My Rebbe, Reb Moshe, explained, which I'm not going to go into because it's not our agenda today. You'll see a wonder within a wonder, just like you have miracles are called Nissim, but you have Nes, B'Teich Nes. That's what it means over here, Pile Plois. But the bottom line is, this Gemara is a classic example of what we've spoken out over the last few weeks, which is the following. What does a dream mean? What is a dream all about? So, simply spoken, we broke dreams into 3 categories. 99.99% of our dreams can be explained by a good psychologist. Whenever I speak to a teen, you can assume that his or her dream is just basically the craziness of their lives with the anxiety and all kinds of pressures that they go through the day. They come out in the world of dreams at night, and therefore it is not a shock when if you are about to get engaged and you have a dream that your future spouse is attacking you with a knife. You don't need to cancel the shidduch. It is a latent fear that every person has. It's just coming out in your dreams, and it's Mike, this is the uncensored version of what I normally say over here. But the bottom line is, these things can be explained by your local therapist. It's not a big deal. Then there's 2 dreams that are actually coming from a higher place. The lower dream is the dream that is filtered through what we explained back in the day, through Shadim. Shadim are demons. This is all, by the way, written out in the writings of the Ramchal, Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, the Marsha, at the back of our Gemara explains this as well. That's a dream that is almost impossible to work with, to interpret. When your friend tells you this crazy dream that keeps recurring, and what your job is to immediately use your power of imagination and anchor it into something positive and to do something good. That's what you do when you ameliorate a dream. That's what a person should do. But there's a third type of dream, which comes from a very high place. And this is the quasi-prophetic dreams that people like you and I will get maybe once in a lifetime. And that is when something very clear happens. Let's talk elephants for a moment. Any one of you guys that goes to sleep tonight and dreams of elephants, it means nothing because you just heard a class on elephants. Sorry, Nati, it's not going to work for you. However, if last night you dreamt about an elephant and you had not been watching Dumbo movies or whatever it may be, you had not been thinking about elephants, no circus movies, nothing about your day would lead to elephants, and you come in a dream and you see clearly that you are alone in a room with an elephant. That was just a joke, the elephant in the room, get it? Whatever it is, okay. Or whatever, you see a huge, sorry, Eitan, a huge white elephant, and that's what you dreamt about last night. So then you can expect wondrous things to happen. If you see a herd, you're going to be seeing wonders within wonders. That's what the Gemara says over here. Just another reminder, something that we spoke out, let's talk it through one more time. We spoke that when God created the world, step number one of creating the world is he created 22 letters. This is not me making this up. Today, you can go online and you can type in Book of Creation, Sefer Yetzirah, attributed to Avram Avinu himself. Today, it's online. I remember my Rebbe Moshe used to tell us that his father used to say when they were little children in Tells, and in the base of Medrash, in the back, there was a section where the Sfarim were kept. He said, the children, we used to play there as kids until we got to that part that held the Sefer Yetzirah. There we were so spooked out by the Sefer, the holy writings of Reb Chaim Volozhiner in his introduction to Safra D'Tzniusa. He says, when I had a chavrusa with the Gra in Sefer Yetzirah, it was the easiest thing in the world to create a golem, to create a creature just from the knowledge of learning the Sefer Yetzirah with my Rebbe, the Gra. And unfortunately, since most of us here work in chinuch and education, we all know how easy it is to create a golem. That was another stupid joke. But the point is that the Sefer Yetzirah says the foundation blocks of everything are the 22 letters of the alphabet. I would love to talk more about this topic. I see I have some of my Talmidim from Yisrael. The Kuzari actually talks about it. The Kuzari, you see over here, has access to mystical Sfarim, that there in Chelik Hey, he goes through these 22 letters and talks about their latent powers and what they're all about. The bottom line is, that is the meaning when we say, for example, that when Adam Harishon, at that point then was still Adam and Chava, when he named the animals, he would look, for example, at a dog, and he would look deeply into the dog, and the three letters, Kaf, Lamed, and Beis, would form in his eyes, and he would say the word Kelev. That's what we mean when we say that Hebrew is Lashon HaKodesh. The Kedusha of the language is that it says the essence of what we're seeing. So you cannot switch dog with cat, Kelev with Chatul, that you can do in the English language, or the Spanish language, or the French language. In Lashon HaKodesh, Kelev is Be'etzem. So let's read this Gemara one more time. If you last night saw a pill, you were not expecting it. In other words, out of nowhere, you see an elephant. That means that 1/60th of your body is now in Shemayim, has access to the world of roots. The world of roots means you have access to the higher worlds, so you know what is going to happen before it actually happens. I gave you back then the mashal of a weatherman. A weatherman doesn't have to have nevuah to know what the weather's going to be like tomorrow because he sees patterns. To be topical, a political analyst does not have to be a nevuah to see what's been happening in America over the last week. All you have to do is just be a political analyst, see trends in history, understand what's going on, and you can have predicted it for many, many reasons, which is not the purpose of today's class. But the point I want to make is, by the way, Rabbi Chol Friedman points out, if you ever have questions, you can just send in the chat. He points out very correctly and says, you'll notice that most animals have roots that are 3 letters or 4 letters. And actually, verbs also. So homachlokas rishonim, Rashi min hashniim hu. Rashi is the one that says that verbs have 2-letter roots. So this is something that we could discuss how these things work. It's not our agenda today. But the bottom line is that we all know that Lashon HaKodesh is be'etzem. It sees the things in roots. That's what it means. You see an elephant, so you're actually seeing the world of roots. You're seeing a pei yud lamed. Rashi would tell you the yud gets dropped, so the elephant in its core is a pei lamed, and therefore wonders will happen to you because the word pele, pei lamed aleph, the aleph gets dropped in the Hebrew language. Aleph, yud, hey, vav, they all get dropped to get to the shirish. As some of you remember that before Pesach, we spoke this through, that Galus and Geula are the same Gimel Lamed, the same Galgal. That was our pre-Pesach class. So here over again, you see a elephant, you are seeing a Pei Lamed. A Pei Lamed means you're seeing something that is Pei Lamed in the world of roots coming down into the world of fruits. You're seeing the Shirish in action coming down towards your world. Expect Pei Lamed Aleph, expect the world of wonders. If you see a lot of elephants, so then it is wonders within wonders. That is our Gemara over here on Nun Vav Amud Beis. And we are definitely going to come back to this Gemara. But before I do, I just wanted to say one more thing, and that is the Ramban. This is the Ramban. Reb David Herbsman asked the question, is this why we have a special bracha for seeing real elephants? So this is not the reason why per se, rather because of what I'm about to say next. It's not just a play in the language of Hebrew. There is an intrinsic connection between a pill and a pella. It's not just a word game, which is the following thing, and that would explain the bracha. Today, I'm not sure if you can say the bracha because everyone has elephants in their local zoo. But if we just go back 100 years, you would expect to see an elephant once in a lifetime. You would go, like Rabbi Rucham from the Mir, would go to the zoo in Vilna, and it was a huge big deal, and he would give shmuzim for the next few months about how he studied very carefully the bear so he could understand the malchus of the Persians that are compared to the bear. This is something that you would see once in a lifetime. So then you would make the bracha on the elephant, and you would make the bracha on the monkey, and so on and so forth. But the point is, the Ramban in Parshas Beshalach, in 2 places, talks about the word pele, and he gives us a proper definition of the word pele. Tomorrow morning, when you say Az Yasher, you will say the words Neire Tehillos, Oise Pele. Hashem does pele. Hashem does wonders. Let me read to you the Ramban, Beshalach, Perek Tesvav, Pasuk Tes, Oise Gedolos, Beniflois, Bedavar, V'Hafchai. This is the Ramban. The definition of a pele is when you see something intrinsically that has an idea and its opposite in one that cannot be reconciled. That's a pele. A pele is 2 things that come together in a way that cannot be reconciled. The example that happened at the sea for the Jewish people was that the Egyptians committed collective suicide, which means the Egyptians at that point then were the superpower, but they had also seen that Klal Yisrael was being led through extraordinary powers, which we call HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When they went into the water, they did something that was a pele. It was something that goes against all human expectations. When something's going this way, you don't go that way. That was the pele that happened at the Yam with the Egyptians. And that is exactly what a pele is davar v'haifra. You see something and you see its opposite, which goes back to Reb David Herbstman's observation about the elephant. What makes the elephant bracha worthy is you look at a creature of Hashem that defies any form of description, because whatever an elephant is, it is beyond human comprehension. See if I still have it over here. I had over here, yeah, here it is. Art scroll on Pirkei Shira. I want to get back to this at the end of the class. It says, very beautiful how he writes, the elephant is the largest land animal. Pictures or written accounts can barely prepare one for the sight of a 7-ton, 12-foot-high pachyderm. I'm assuming pachyderm is the fancy way of saying an elephant. It's like people that don't want to say coronavirus and say COVID-19, like, woohoo, look how fancy I am. Oh my gosh, okay, I'm from the scientific community. I'm snobbier than you. But for the rest of us people, right, the old-fashioned coronavirus people, we call them elephants, but they call them pachyderms. Despite its enormous size, it can gallop at great speeds, blah, blah, blah. The point is that the elephant is a creature, okay? This is what I'm reading from over here. The elephant is a creature that is, on the one hand, when you see it, you just assume that it is huge, massive. It's out of a Steven Spielberg movie. Does not belong to real life. It is huge, strong, powerful. You assume that it's slow, but it's not slow. You assume that it's probably stupid, but it's not that way. It is very, very fast. The Medrash brings down, this actually is called the Medrash Bris Olam, Sefer Bris. It has in this Medrash a description of the wars of Hannibal, and says that an elephant can go 40 parsos a day. Just to give you a sense of contrast, human beings can go 10 parsos a day. It can go huge distances. It can actually gallop. You do not want to be a small African village confronting elephants in heat, angry elephants. If you have human beings versus elephants, elephants will win. Actually, this thing that the lions are the kings of the jungle, is wrong. The actual king of the jungle is actually the elephant. Elephant versus lion, elephant wins. Elephant always wins. Elephants were used as creatures of war 2,000 years ago, and they were by the Persians and by Carthage and so on, and even in the story of the Hanukkah story, we read the story of the Hanukkah story. Who was it? Shimon HaMaccabi that died under an elephant. The bottom line is that elephants, on the one hand, seem this huge, big, cumbersome, prehistoric creature. On the other hand, they're highly intelligent. They have, listen, I'm not going to waste their time. Just go Wikipedia, put in elephant, and you can read the pella that the pill is, all kinds of contradictions that you would not expect from one creature. Now, finally, we can get to the Gemara that I want to talk about, which is how to get up in the morning. I'm telling you now that this class, for those of you that I see over here, have one or two of my seminary students have joined us. I love to give a different version of this class, because just in general, it is so important to get waking up right. You get waking up right, you start your day right. I also want to share with you the following thing. I just did a meaningful minute. The meaningful minute quoted my Rebbe Rav Wolbe Zatzal. Rav Wolbe Zatzal, at the end of the Gulf War, the Gulf War was 1991, before a lot of you were born. So at the very end, it ended on Purim, and Rav Wolbe spoke to us. I remember exactly where it was the Beis HaMusar in Unsdorf. I was still, I was already married by then, but the point is that what was incredible is that he spoke about the power of a souvenir. That, where are you, Dave? I know you're somewhere there. This is my souvenir from a beautiful Shabbaton. David Oxenberg was also there. Beautiful Shabbaton I had in Canada last year. What's my point? A souvenir anchors you back into a moment. See, he says, take a souvenir from the Gulf War. What does it mean? Start doing something that you will do on a regular basis, but every time you do it, you'll remind yourself, why am I doing it the way I'm doing it? is because of the way I felt when HaKadosh Baruch Hu smiled at me. You don't want to lose that feeling, and therefore you should take for yourself a spiritual souvenir. So on my magical minute, my meaningful minute, I suggested that do something for your Jewish home before you step out of it. I gave the example of a new Shabbos mirror, or learning a halacha at the table, something small and something meaningful. When Rav Wolbe gave us his shmooze, he gave us an example. He said at the Gulf War, we saw miracles. We saw real miracles. Anchor those miracles in miracles that we tend not to notice. And the example he gave was Asher Yatzar. Asher Yatzar is an ongoing miracle of the human body, as we're going to see in a moment when we translate the words b'chachma and the translate the words mafli lases. And therefore, the miracle that is the human body, make Asher Yatzar your souvenir from the Gulf War. I also want to share with you another bit of history. Fast forward to the Twin Towers. I was in Baltimore just after the Twin Towers fell, and I had to speak in Stern College to my students. A lot of them had been personally involved in helping with the rescue efforts, and they had seen things that young girls at the age of 18, 19, 20, 21 should not be seeing. They saw horrific things that gave them trauma and nightmares, and I was going to be speaking to them back then in the day. And I drove to Philadelphia first, and I went to speak to the Gadol Ador in America, Rishmuel Kamenetsky, so sein gesund und stark, because she'd be well and healthy. So I went to Rishmuel. I said, Rishmuel, what should I talk to the girls about? So he took out a Chovos Levavos and said, and he showed me where the Chovos Levavos speaks about the godless ha'adam, the greatness of the human being, and it is expressed every day by saying Elokai neshama, Elokai neshama. We have a neshama. We have something from HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. If every morning we would say Elokai neshama with kavana, said Rav Shmuel, we would remind ourselves of how awesome is the human being. This is interesting. At Rav Wolbe chose Asher Yatzar, he was taking miracles and grounding it into the daily life. But Rav Shmuel was taking us into the Baal B'chaim in the other direction. He wanted, when you're feeling low, to give yourself this pickup by reminding yourself of how great is the human body. Bring out your inner slobodka, godless ha'adam. You want godless ha'adam? Have kavana in Elokai neshama every morning. With that in mind, I'm asking you if you can all turn to the Gemara and Daf Samach Amud Beis. The Gemara and Daf Samach Amud Beis. It's extraordinary Gemara. We could spend ages on this Amud. He goes through morning brachas, but the top of the page begins with Hanichnas lebeis hakisei. That's how the sugya begins, with entering into a bathroom. Oime, you say to, and we're not going to talk about this because it's a different subject. Oime, you say, Hischabdu mechubarim, kadeshim, meshersi elyon. You start to speak to the angels that accompany you, and you say to the angels that accompany you, please do not come inside the bathroom. It is not fitting for you to come, but please do not leave me. So this whole little Gemara over here is something that we do not do. It would be freaky. I don't want to say it would be freaky if this had become our custom. Obviously, we'd get used to it, but it's just an extraordinary thing of our emunah, pshuta, that everywhere we go, we have malachim that are surrounding us. And what does it mean that we don't want to come into the bathroom? What we do want to read through is what happens when we come out. So you go down about 10 lines, and it says kinafik when you come out of the bathroom. Aime baruch asher yatzar sa'adam b'chachma avaravo nekavim chalalim chalalim galu v'yadu lifnei kisei kivdecha shimi pesach echad mehem oy sasem echad mehem ish shalamoid lefanecha my chasim. How do you end? Amarav roifi chaylim Ama Shmuel kavashinan abba lekula alma katsiri. What, we're all sick people. Ella roifi kolbasa. Rav Sheshis Ama Mafli Lases. Amar Papa Hilkach Nemrinu Letravayu. So the bracha that we say, Roife Kolbasa or Mafli Lases, is a combination of the suggestion of Shmuel and the combination of Rav Papa. Rav Shmuel and Rav Sheshis. Rav Papa is the one that combined the two. Rav Papa was the next generation. He took the two and made the formula that we're all familiar with, Reife Kolbasa Umafli Lasis. So this over here is the Gemara that talks about Yatzar. I just want you to know that if you open up any halacha sefer, you open up starting off with the Torah and the Rambam, all the way down to the Shulchan Aruch, all the way down to the Mishnah Berurah, all the way down to the Aruch HaShulchan, all the way down to the Shulchan Aruch HaRav. They're all marich on the bracha Yatzar, as if to say we have a special chavivus, a special love for this bracha. This bracha is something that is discussed a lot. Exactly the gather of this bracha is it Birkas Hadah, Birkas HaShevach, Birkas HaMitzvahs. How does it work? To say that it's a Birkas Hananin is extraordinary. As they say, Birkas Hananin, it's a benefit that you get that's brought down as well in the Achronim. Anyone, God forbid, who has stomach issues knows that when Baruch Hashem, stomach issues are sorted out, so then your Ashiyata is a different Ashiyata. You appreciate the extraordinariness of the body, and it's a real hana. It's a real hana. The Greeks spoke about it. I remember Moshe Pera mentioned this to us. There's a school of Greeks that were called the aesthetics. I've forgotten what the name was. They were a school that were very into defining pleasure, and they spoke about out of all the pleasures of this world, this would be it. This would be it. Right, if a person has a pulsating blister and you burst it, and after that feeling, they define this as the greatest pleasure the Greeks could ever have. Similarly, if a person is, I don't know, you're in an Israeli bus, you got on at Yam HaMelech, it gets up in your Yerushalayim, you need the bathroom. So when you go to the bathroom, that feeling that you have is what the Greeks call a Birkas Hanen and Amiti. It's a real pleasure. It's a little weird, to be honest with you. Also, Birkas Hanen is always said before the Hana. Here you say it after the Hana. So you'll argue back and say to me, oh, of course, because you're not allowed to say the bracha beforehand because you need to go to the bathroom. Like, duh. So you're right. This is not my point. I don't want to get into the technical discussion of the gather over here. I just wanted to say the chavivus, the love that the halachic mefarshim have. It matters to them to go through the bracha and to explain what the words mean. It is not the job of halachis to be mefarshim of the siddur. Here, they all choose to do so. It's important to them that we get into the bracha Ashiyata. It's an extraordinary, important bracha. So Reb Michal says, all you have to do is listen to the tapes of Rav Avigdor Miller Zatzal, and he would bring this bracha alive in the most powerful way by talking about what we're about to mention. There's two words that I want to focus on over here. The first one is chachma, Ashiyata Adam b'chachma, and today I'm going to use Chachma on the simple level. Previous classes, we mentioned Chachma is also a Kabbalistic concept, which is also true over here. Yatzar es Adam b'Chachma. You created man with Chachma. And then at the end, we say, Roife Kolbasa o Mafli Lases. So this bracha begins with identifying that what HaKadosh Baruch Hu created, called the human body, is Chachma, and it's Mafli Lases. So there's quite a few different interpretations. There's three major mahalchim in the Rishonim, three major approaches in the Rishonim. The first is Rashi right over here. So Rashi says, Roife Kolbasa, Keneged Hayetzia, Shirufuas Kalguf, O Mafli Lases, Keneged Shaguf Chalo, Kamoinoid, Vahanoid Hazeh, Im Yesh Boi Nekev, Ein Ruach Aymed B'Seichai. HaKadosh Baruch Hu bar es ha'adam b'chachma, or bar v'nekavim harbe, v'afal pikein, haruach b'seichai, kol yemei chayev, v'zu pliya v'chachma. So Rashi does a 2-for-1 combination. He says the body contains things, but it's filled with holes. Specifically, the ruach comes in and the ruach goes out. The ruach does not literally mean wind over here. It includes everything that the body ingests. And somehow or other, with all the various, whatever it is, the holes that connect the body to the outside world, things do not fall out. And that is all part of the chachma and the pella, which Rashi combines into two ideas of how the body works. So what taught the various sphincters and various things that contract and open to do the way they do without it passing through our brains? The answer is it's a pella. It's a pella, the pella of the human body. It's the pella, the extreme irrational. There's no way you can explain logically how the body can do two things. It can contain and still have holes where everything should fall out and it doesn't fall out. That's Rashi Shita. Tosfos breaks down and disconnects the word pele from the word chachma. Tosfos over here on the side gives two different explanations. On the word Asher Yatzar is on b'chachma, he brings down the Medrash Tanchuma and says, Vayivra lakim es ha'adam, Amar Avon, this is from the Medrash, b'chachma, shehiskin, zaynesa v'achakach bara v'hayin darminus Sanhedrin, etc. Which means, brings the Gemara in Sanhedrin, l'kach nivru be'erev Shabbos, kadeshi yikanis l'suda miyad. So, and then he brings a pasuk, which means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created man at the end, so he should come into a world that is already prepared for him. And therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's chachma was that he first created the food. In other words, he created the ability to survive, and then he created man so that man would come in to have what is ready to eat. So that is the chachma of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. On Machli Lasis, which is the next Tosfos, he brings down once again from the Medrash, which turns out to be the same basic idea as Rashi. So Tosfos splits the word chachma from the word Machli Lasis. Now, there are other shitas in the Rishonim. The most important for us is the Avedram. The Avedram is a precious sefer because it allows us to see how a Rishon would read the Siddur. It is a parish on the Siddur. And the Avedram tells us, so this over here, for those of you that are involved in discussing science with teens, so this Avedram is a makar, and he gives examples of how the human body defines comprehension. I'll just give the first example that he gives. He says, how can it be that a human body comes from a tipa srucha? A tipa srucha in English is a fertilized ovum. A fertilized ovum is something that you can put on top of a pin, and inside is all the material to create the uniqueness that is you and I. So how can that be? So no one can explain how whatever we learned in high school, in our biology classes, how HaKadosh Baruch Hu put everything into the human body, it all begins in something that can fit on top of a pin, is something that is beyond comprehension. That is the chachma of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is the chachma of how everything begins in something so small, in something so tiny, and that can contain all the information. And then at the end, by the time he gets to Mafli Lases, so there he talks about in general the plies of the guf. For example, he gives the example, he says, how does the whole alimentary canal work? How does the food system work? We put food into our body. How does the body know how to break down the food? Seriously, Rabbi Sai, quick reminder, for those of us that need chizuk in our munah, just take out a biology textbook and just read how food goes in and how food goes out. Who tells the body what to do with the food? The food is broken down into its micro components, and whatever the proteins are sent to our brains, and the carbohydrates are sent to our hips, unfortunately, and that's just basically how we go. Nothing we can do about it. The human body remains a pella of how everything works, and everything that we do not need comes out at the end, and everything that we do need stays in, and chas v'shalom, God help us. I had a Talmud, Rabbi Yoel Bertram, he had a Talmud, he had a little child. I still daven for his child. Baruch Hashem, now he's doing very well. It's a teen. But when he was born, this little child, I remember how extraordinary my Talmud said to me, quote, he says, yeah. Eli writes that the Chavis Lavavis talks about this. The child was not able to put out waste. And the doctor said that if he doesn't go to the bathroom in the next few hours, he will not survive. And by chance, Rapesa Kron, hey Mike, take note. Rapesa Kron, the future Moel, was there, and he told my Talmud, Rabbi Yoel, and said to him, I don't know, but I've heard the skula is to have kavana for Ashiyatza. So my Talmud said, I felt like I was saying Ashiyatza for the first time. Imagine I said to you that you had to say Ashiyatza to save your son's life. And Taka, that's what happened. He said Ashiyatza with kavana atzuma, and the child afterwards was able to go to the bathroom, and it was mamish pella to see the power of this bracha. So now, those are the three shittas, and now we are going to go back to a Gemara and develop the structure just a little bit more over here. The Gemara goes up and says we can't go through this because we're not learning the sugya per se. I just want to go straight to Elokai neshama. If you go to where the Gemara gets wide, and you go, I think it's the fifth wide line, the Gemara talks about, just after Birkas Hamapil, talks about the moment of waking up. Kimitzaer, that moment when you wake up. So, just a little information, because this comes as a shock. When you wake up in the morning, the Gemara says the first thing you say is Elokai neshama. Before you open your eyes, because it says afterwards, when you open your eyes, you say Pekach Ivrim. So you are under the covers with your eyes closed. You suddenly realize you're awake. You say Elokai neshama, not Moda Ani. Why? So again, this is not our sugya, but the nowhere in Shas does it mention what's called Ruach Ra. Ruach Ra is the Zayar in Parshas Vayeshev, that when you wake up, you have to go and wash your fingers from whatever it is, the Ruach Ra. You've had, when you're 1/60th, your body is in Shemayim, that means you're also 1/60th dead, which means whatever it is, the klipos, whatever that means, can come into your body, all kinds of nasty stuff. When you wake up, they get trapped in your fingers. I don't know, it sounds like a horror movie, but this is Chazal. And therefore, you're not allowed to say the Shem Hashem until you wash your hands. So, today, we exchange Elokai neshama with Moda Ani. Moda Ani is basically a poor man's Elokai neshama. It doesn't mention God's name. And we say Elokai neshama, as we'll see in a moment, later on in our davening. But the point is, we wake up, we say Moda Ani. In the times of Chazal, people would wake up and say Elokai neshama. I once discussed this with my Rebbe, Reb Moshe, and he said it's obvious that people that knew about Ruach Ra was a reality. They knew that they would get up the way that we do today. This is a perfect example how halacha is a shiluv, is a combination of the world of the Zohar and the world of the Talmud. There's no better example than this, that the Zohar says you don't say Elokai neshama first thing in the morning, and the Talmud says you do, and then by the time we get to the Torah, Rabbi Yosef Karo already, he's the one that created it the way we wake up here in the mornings today. But what matters to us is that he says the following thing. We say, the Gemara brings the Elokai, my God, neshama shenasatabi. By the way, next time your NCS wire says, you know who you are? You are your neshama. Okay, so it's not, you are not your neshama, because otherwise, how could you say Elokai neshama shenasatabi? Who's doing the talking? You can't be talking to Hashem about your neshama. Actually, NCSY gets it right, because some of you will recall that when your teenager gets up, especially the ladies, they get up to say the Dvar Torah. So we will say, you look so beautiful inside and outside and all around, especially your, and there's always some kids that say you're neshama, which means correctly, neshama is something that we get from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So we say, Elokai neshama shenasatabi, tahirihi, ata barasa, ata yatzarta, ata nefachtabi. The Sfarim bring down, this is the full ilamis that we spoke about in previous classes. And the neshama starts off in the world of Atzilus, in the world of God, then it comes down because it's from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's from his breath. Then the neshama comes down, the kind of neshama tahiri, ata barasa, it comes down into the world of Bria, which is the world of the Kisei HaKavod, and then it goes down into the world of Menachem, ata Yatzar, the world of Yetzira, which is the world of Menachem, and then ata nefachtabi, and finally comes into our physical, earthly, animalistic body that we share with the animal kingdom. So this extraordinary journey of the neshama from the highest world into our bodies is something that we celebrate every morning with Elokai neshama. I mentioned earlier on Gadlus ha'adam, the greatness of the human being. I mentioned earlier on that Slobodka, as my Rebbe Moshe Pira said, today the only chinuch that really works is Slobodka, is Gadlus ha'adam, is to build people up. I mentioned earlier that Rishmuel Kamenetsky told me, build up your students, your stern girls, by telling them that they have a neshama. If you really are having a hard day and you want to have a thought that is like mind-blowing, that will get you so excited to be you, to look at yourself in the mirror, just think of the following thing. In several places, Chazal tell us that you and I are a microcosm of the universe. It's what's called an Olam Katan. Those of you that had me for Derech Hashem will remember it's right there at the beginning of Chelik Aleph, Perek Gimel. Man is a microcosm of the universe. It's brought down in several places, most famously in Avos to Reb Nosson, Perek Lamed Aleph. It's also brought down at the very beginning of Bereshis Rabbah, the Medrash. There, the Medrash goes on to say that man parallels the universe, but also parallels the Mishkan. So the Mishkan is a mini universe, and the human being is a mini universe, and everything compares. Don't try and figure it out. I'll give you an example that a human being, the Mishkan had what's called the kroshim that went round it, had the kroshim. So that in the equivalent of the human body is our rib cage. I have no idea what that means, but the rib cage corresponds to the kroshim, which in turn, and I have no idea what this means at all, corresponds to the mountain ranges of the world. The mountain ranges of the world, the ribs of the world, whatever that means. And Eitan says, what about Eretz Yisrael? So it would need a lot of introductions. It's not really for now. One thing is correct. The world was created, started off with the Eben Shasiya, expanded to Yerushalayim, Eretz Yisrael, the rest of the world, and then kept on expanding. As we speak, the world is still expanding, and it all started from that one point, which is a couple of miles from where I'm talking to you right now. So let's get back over here. The neshama is inside the guf, is a pele atzuma of what's called the Shechina inside the world of Asiya. If you want to know how awesome you are, the equivalent of you in the universe is the fact that the Shechina, the holy feminine dimension of God called Shechina, comes down into this world. When we say that God is not up there, but God is all around, so when you say God is all around, you're saying the Shechina from Lashon Shachen. So the Shechina in the Olam HaShafel, in the physical, animalistic, lowly word that we have, as we say on Shabbos, Gam ki elech begeitz hamaves, lo yirara ki ata imadi. Hashem is always with us. That Shechina that is downstairs with the physical world is the same in parallel to your neshama inside your guf. How beautiful is that? You want to think that you're chashuv? Now you know you're chashuv. So one more thing, and that is Birkas Netilas Yadayim. So we spoke on speed about Ashi Yatzar. We spoke about the Chachma and the Mafli Lasos. We spoke on speed about Elokai neshama. One more bracha is Netilas Yadayim. What is Netilas Yadayim? So it's very annoying. I can't explain this to you now just because I'm looking at the clock. Netilas Yadayim is at the very bottom of the page. You say it in the Gemara. It is said after Birkas Hashacha, before Hamavar Sheni Me'inai. So you wash your hands, then you wash your face, and that's the last of the 15 morning brachos. It's said after you put on your tefillin. Go figure. It's very complicated to figure this out, but that's the bottom line. The bracha Netilas Yadayim. Why do you make a bracha Netilas Yadayim every morning? Two major shitas in the Rishonim and the Zohar that we already mentioned. The Rashba. The Rashba, this is probably, I would say, the most quoted Rashba of all. The most famous Rashba of all is in Tshuva Kuf Tzadi Aleph, Chelik Aleph, Kuf Tzadi Aleph, where he says, the reason why you wash your hands every morning is because every morning you are a Beria Chadasha. A Beria Chadasha means you are recreated as a new creature. Quote, V'litel yadav min akli, you should wash your hands with a cup, kikayen, hamakadesh hamakadesh yadav min akiyar kedem avodasai. Like a priest, when he goes into the base of Mikdash, first thing you do is you wash your hands with the kiyar. Every single day, says the Rashba. How beautiful is this idea? A Jew should have a self-perception. My world is my Azara. My world is my Beis Hamikdash. And I work in this world to bring out Hashem, like a Kayan works in the Beis Hamikdash to bring out a Kadosh Baruch Hu. So that extraordinary comparison is something we should think about every single morning, says the Rashba. The Rosh brings down something completely different. When a person sleeps, you touch parts of your body that you should not touch, and therefore, says the Rosh at the back of our Gemara over here in Siman Kaf Gimel, also in his Chuvas, he brings this down. He says, Yadayim askanios, your hands, you don't know what they've touched, and therefore, before you say Kriya Shema and before you say Shemona Esrei, you better wash them. So according to the Rosh, you wash in the morning exactly the same way that you wash before Mincha and you wash before Marv. By the way, those of you that don't wash before Mincha and Marv, you should wash before Mincha and Marv. I don't know why it's not such a huge halacha. Nati, I don't know in Biav whether you have a washing station as you come in for Mincha and Marv, but you should wash 3 times a day before each tefillah. That's the shita of the Rosh. And the Beis Yosef, as I mentioned earlier, brings down the Zayar in Parshas Beyeshev that says, because of the Ruach Tumah, if you by chance had time to go to my Torah Anytime with my YouTube channel, that I just spoke about the Ger Tzedek, I spoke about righteous converts. When the Ger Tzedek on the second day of Shavuos gave his holy body al Kiddush Hashem, who was burnt in Vilna, the Gra said that the Ruach HaTumah of Parshas Vayeshev went down, which is why people like Shlomo Zalman and Rav Moshe Feinstein allow us, instead of having to put the washing cup next to your bed, which is a disaster if you have little children. Instead, you can walk to your local bathroom and you can wash there as long as you're inside the house. The bottom line is that the Magen Avraham says that the main opinion la halacha is the Rashba. The main opinion is the Rashba. In practice, I'm looking at the clock over here, but in practice, we try and accommodate all the opinions. There's lots of nafkaminas la halacha. For example, that what happens if, like for me, that I got up an hour ago, whatever it is, I got up over an hour ago, I washed, and now after this shir, I'm going to go to shul, so now I'm going to have to wash my hands again. Because when I wash my hands the first time, that was rashbadik, that was like the rashba. When I go to shul, I wash my hands the second time, so that is medina from the rosh. So those are one of the many nafkaminas between them. I just can't be bothered. But those of you that stayed up Shavuos night, that's another nafkamin between the rashba and the rosh, and so on and so forth. This is not our issue today. What I want to do now is tell you the Oimek in Machshava about washing hands in the morning. I'm going to give you a quote from a sefer called the Ian Tefillah. It's a classic parish on the Siddur. He says, Tikli nusach birkas Netilas Yadayim, l'roimeim es Yadayim, v'lenasam mipchisus archam v'lisasek b'kachi shemayim. It is to raise your hands from their lowliness, to be involved with kachi shemayim, which is what the world is really all about through the lenses of the Rashba. Let me read to you Rav Hirsch. Rav Shamshon for Hirsch says it in his own inimitable way. I'll put on my best German accents. The hands are lifted, as it were, from the level of lower, purely physical nature to the higher moral purpose. Yeah, okay, that's what we do. We take it from the lowliness to their higher moral purpose. So if you are changing your child's diaper, you are not doing something lowly. You are doing something holy. And we should remember that. That's what Netilas Yadayim does. I just want to show you something incredible. You look at my hands over here. While I speak, you can't see my hands. They're underneath the screen. But when I get excited, I go like this, right? Hands are the only limb that we have that if you don't focus on them, they go downwards. But if you focus on them, they can go upwards. They easily can go up and down and up and down. What an incredible imagery of the nature of Yadayim. Yadayim reach out. Yadayim make an impact. But what kind of impact you gonna make? That's the bracha. Netilas Yadayim. I raise my hands. Netilas Yadayim, says the Rashba, means that the hands have to be given a raise, is to give them the ability to raise them up. That's Netilas Yadayim. The Rosh says, by the way, that Netila is Melashon Natla, which means a cup, a washing cup. Here we go. But I don't want you to think about the Rosh. I want you to think about the Rashba. Netilas Yadayim. How awesome are our hands? Everything I do has a higher purpose. If you think about why you're doing it, why you're going to work, why are you going to, even if you play sports, and so your hands are touching a ball, you're playing basketball, and the reason why you're doing it is because you need to unwind so you can go back and serve Hashem better. So once again, it's Netilas Yadayim, even there. Everything has a Netilas Yadayim. Finally, we can now go and put things together, and it's just incredible. It's just incredible how we start off our day. We mentioned earlier on Yatzar and Revolva talking about how important this bracha was. I just wanted to say, in honor of David Herbstman, I want to quote Rav Shimon Schwab, because it's just important to remember this. I grew up in England. Part of my problems, those of you that know me as a Rebbe, I grew up in England. England has got what's called a toilet culture. It's such a, I mean, it's just, like, I don't want to say this, but I'm just going to say this. Apparently, the Italians have like 50 words for pasta, and the Eskimos have like 50 words for snow. Well, and Klal Yisrael has 50 words for tefillah, and 50 words for kedusha, and 50 words for neshama. Well, the Brits have about 50 words for a toilet. It's just our culture. And Yatzar takes the whole thing and flips it round and tells us that what the whole world sees as the lowest of the lowest is the highest of the highest. Says Rav Schwab, how beautiful is this incredible observation of Rav Schwab, that the story in Shmuel Perek Vav, the crazy story of how the Aron HaKodesh was stolen and Hashem smit the Pelishtim with hemorrhoids, with this incredible disease, and when they were healed and they gave back the Aron HaKodesh, they sent a box of golden hemorrhoids, something that you and I never want to see and never want to think about. What are golden hemorrhoids? Better not to think about these things. What happened to those golden hemorrhoids? Says Rabbi Yehuda in the Gemara in Baba Basra Daf Yudalet, they were placed in that box and they remained in that box that was next to the Aron HaKodesh, which means that holy box, it could be the same box that contained the luchos shniyos, and that contained the mon, and that contained the mata of Aaron, contained the golden hemorrhoids. Says Rav Schwab that Yeshayahu Melech, when he was Gainez, he hid the holy ark. Mashiach's going to come. He's going to rediscover that ark, the holy of holies, the Kodesh Kodashim. What's going to be inside of there? Is going to be inside of there the mon and the luchos and the luchos shniyos and the matishal Aaron and the golden hemorrhoids. Whoa! Says Rav Schwab, you see how Klal Yisrael thinks. We take the lowest of the lowest and literally bring it up to the highest of the highest. So now, let us summarize how we start up the morning. So I have over here my Mishnah Berurah, because now I've got to get to the punchline. My Mishnah Berurah over here brings down Siman Vav. I need to read it to you. The Mishnah Berurah brings down that the way that we get up in the morning, he says there's different opinions of which bracha comes where. As you see in the Gemara, it's a big mess. But the Mishnah Berurah recommends in Perek Siman Vav, in Sifkat Yud Beis, quoting the Gra. He says the Yesh Lasis Altzara Yesetay. Do the best option. Lismaich Lahasmich Elokai Neshama Lebirkas Yatzar. I'm not going to explain this to you now, but we're solving the problem. Elokai Neshama does not begin with the words Baruch. I once gave a shir in brachas about this. You need to be masmich bracha lechaverta. So Elokai Neshama should come after Yatzar. So we say Reifei Kolbasa or Mafli Lasais Elokai Neshama. That's how you should start off your day. Your morning begins with a trilogy. And as I always say to my students, wait until you can have kavanah. Don't be in a rush to say these three brachos. These three amazing brachos. Say them slowly. Say them with kavanah. Start your day powerfully. You look at your hands and say, what am I going to do with my hands? Netilas Yadayim. I'm going to raise them. Everything I do today with my hands should be for a higher purpose, as Rav Hirsch says. And then you look at yourself and you remind yourself that you are two extremes. You are the lowest of the lowest. That's Yatzar. You are the highest of the highest. That's Elokai Neshama. Put the two together and say to yourself that your body, which is the lowest, can be raised, excused upon, ad kisei kvedecha, to your heavenly throne. And then you say Yatzar immediately afterwards, Elokai Neshama, to remind yourself how high that your body has a neshama that started off at the highest neshama shetayrehi ata barasa ata yatzarta ata nafachtabi. It went down the full universes and came into my body. How awesome is the human body? And now we're ready to close this class, and I'm going to read to you, without question, the most famous Ramah of all. I don't know about without question, but today I'm saying it to be dramatic. The most famous Ramah of all, the Ramah on the words Omafli Lases, where he says his own opinion. The holy Ramah says on the words Roifei Kobasa Omafli Lases, and I quote, B'mashashemer ruach ha'adam b'kirvav v'kaishe davar ruchani b'davar gashmi ki az ha'adam b'kav abriyos v'nishmasai mishtameres b'kirbo. How awesome is the pele of the human body, that the human body, the physical body, that we actually share with the animal kingdom. The whatever it is, the DNA, people can show you how much of our DNA we share with a camel and a pig. The lowly physical body can contain a neshama that comes all the way from Hashem's breath. When I breathe from my essence. Hashem gave us neshama that comes from his own essence. This physical lowly body that does Yatzar, that goes into the bathroom, contains a neshama that comes from the highest of the highest. And the Magen Avram over here, the Mishnah Berurah brings from the Arizal, how the neshama and guf take the food, and the neshama takes out the ruchnias, and the guf takes out the gashmias, which is why you have to be so careful with kashrus. This is all the human body. It's how we start our day until it's Yadayim, and then we remind ourselves how awesome is our body, that the lowest of the lowest can contain inside of it the highest of the highest. How on earth does that work? Now, I want to show you something amazing. When Hashem breathed into us, he breathed into us, into our nose. The neshama entered into our nose. Normally, I'm embarrassed that I have such a big nose. But if you ever want to know what it's going to be like when Mashiach comes, when everyone's going to get a nose job, and then suddenly a big nose is going to become in. Because the reason why Jews have big noses is not just because air is free. The reason why we have big noses is because Hashem needs to breathe a big neshama into us. And it goes into our nose. So you have a look at my face. The face is the higher part of me. And the centerpiece is the nose, because that's where HaKadosh Baruch Hu put the neshama. So the nose is that part of the external body, of the part that you see, that is most connected to what HaKadosh Baruch Hu created in man to HaKadosh Baruch Hu's essence. It's why it's called an af. Af means extra, beyond. It's outside of this world. That's why in the sin of Chava and Adam HaRishon, they sinned with their eyes and with their ear and with the sense of touch and the sense of taste, but they were not capable of smelling the fruit. It's a mistake to think that by chance they didn't use the sense of smell. The sense of smell was too elevated, was too close to God himself to be used in the chait of Adam and Chava. Adam and Chava never sin with the af because the af is beyond the world of sin. It's the kayach of reach. It's the highest of all our senses. It's the af. Now look at my hands. My hand is what reaches out to the most physical of the most physical. Here, a cup of coffee. That's what I do with my hands. I reach out with my hands. I said, oh, you change a dirty diaper. With your hands, you work it with the physical earthly world. So the hand is that part of the word. Yad literally means an extension. Extends into the world of the lowest, into what's called the olam ha'asiyah, the physical earthly world is my hands. And the nose goes up to the olam ha'atzilus, into the highest of the highest, outside of the world of sin. So you have in the human body the paradox of two extremes, of the nose, which reaches the highest of the highest, and the hand, which reaches the lowest of the lowest. There is only one creature on this planet that combines the nose with the hand, where the nose is its hand, that the two extremes become one. What is this extraordinary animal that can combine the two opposites? Do I need to give you a clue? Here she goes. There she is. Oh my gosh. It has 100,000 muscles in its trunk. This trunk is the pella of the pill. The trunk is a hand that can pick fruit and can spritz you with water. But it's also this powerful thing that can be used also as a weapon of war, together with its tusks. It is that the hand is also got inside of it the sense of smell of the elephant. The same trunk is no other creature that's a pella. It's a pella that it contains what for us is the highest and the most physical and the most spiritual. With the pella, it's one. Welcome to the wondrous world of Rav Moshe Shapiro Zatzal. How he was able to notice these things is something incredible. So I want to finish off and give everyone a piece of chizuk, because I bothered over here. This is from Pirkei Shir of Art Scroll. I photocopied it. What's the shir of the elephant? Ma godlu masech Hashem, ma'oid amku machshavasecha. Ma godlu masech Hashem. So I bothered to look it up in Tehillim. I'll be saying it tonight. You'll be saying it tomorrow night. Mizmar shir liyom HaShabbos. At that moment when we have access to the world of Shabbos, and we say the holy, holy words, Ma godlu masech Hashem. So here it is. The Radak says to us the most incredible chizuk. I happen to know that a lot of you guys, hopefully not yourselves, but you're dealing with counseling with people who are depressed. How could you not be depressed? You go from the quarantine to the rioting and you feel that your whole world is imploding around you. And how do you keep yourself strong? Netilas Yadayim, Yatzar kind of shama would do it for you. But whenever you're having a hard day, you think of the Heilige elephant, and he praises the words and says, Ma godlu masech Hashem. Every morning the elephant says, Ma'oid amku machshavasecha. Says the Radak. He says the following, Hakel, kaidin l'kol. The tshuva is the question, the answer to all the questions that people have is that he says, Lama bra hakel ha'olam ha'yayim b'kachav, etc., etc. Says the Radak. He says, Kach gazru chachmasai v'anachnu lo yadanu dartu v'machshavaisav lama ki amku lamata v'gadlu lamala. He says, the Radak says, people have questions, they don't understand, but they say, how deep? The elephant says, look at me, how deep is your ways? That whatever you think, it's infinitely beyond. Yesterday, one of my students, she wrote to me that her friend is crashing in her bitachon with what's going on. I said, what's going on in America today is the greatest expression for bitachon, because these things can only be from Hashem. Don't think that by chance something happens in you have in Wuhan, you have something happening, and in Minneapolis, you have something happening, and they're not connected. Says the elephant. Of course they're connected. Everything's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's running this world. What does it mean? We don't know, says the Radak. It's okay to say we don't know, but we can still marvel that we're in Hashem's safe hands, so we know that what is happening now is happening for a reason. My dear friends, I'm begging you, tomorrow morning, when you get up in the morning, at least tomorrow morning, start your day right. Don't be in a rush to say these 3 brachas. You say Netilas Yadayim, you look at your hands, and you misbainin on your body, and you misbainin in the shama, and you misbainin in the mafli lases that you contain both. And with that, you start your day, knowing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is close to you, and He's in total control, in pure, unadulterated love. HaKadosh Baruch Hu should give us all a Yeshua, as Hashem Yisbarach, a safe to all Yatzaros. Thank you all for listening, and once again, a good Shabbos and Hatzlacha in all directions. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And thank you, Rabbi.